Hello guys, it's time to get a little bit more advanced about the working masks. This is now episode 5 of the video series about the Toolkit Luminosity Panel and part 2 of working mask. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I suggest that you go look at them first, because I cover a lot of knowledge that you should know. But either way, let's use just lights here as a quick starting point. And one thing to know is that this is using the real luminosity as a default, but you can do a saturation mask the same way with the same sliders. The input is saturation now. You could also define I'm clearing with the left click on this, by the way, and right click will remove the working mask. If I remove the working mask, I have to create it again. Okay. So a cool way to do your custom color luminosity, which can be really useful also if you just want to use it to push certain colors brighter or darker in an image, and then use that for more creative work. So this is not only for masking this particular feature. You can use it for grading, or if you want to push the reds a little bit brighter and such. I mostly do that type of work through curves, but it's really nice to be able to do this. So what it does here, if I click on this tool, it inputs the specific values for getting luminosity out of a black and white layer. Very important. It needs to be these exact values, otherwise it's not luminosity. And that's the starting point. And then when you want to mix things a little bit, let's say I wanted to create contrast in this shirt here. So you always want to look for contrast, by the way. If you want to create a good selection, you want a nice contrast between whatever you're selecting. So that could be that it's darker or brighter, or it could also mean that it has a different color. And if it has a different color, then this tool is really good, because you can then use first this type of color conversion. So I use this instead of channels. In the past panels I've created RGB channels, like they are there as default, but then I also created SMYK. I made a copy of the document and copied the SMYK channels as pixels, so you got a lot of channels to choose from. But that means I'm limiting again, because I'm only using one small part of the image. Using this type of mixer with the channels, and especially when you have a tool like this where you can actually click on what you want brighter or darker, where it targets the colors. So let's see if we can get, so the skin in this one is quite red, so it also affects the red here. But you can see what happens when you push we could try and do this if we wanted to create a little bit contrast with the shirt. As you can see, it's really interesting results, and that's why some people use this to not just get selections, but to push the luminosity. And then this type of feature here, you could just copy this out of the working mask and use it as luminosity. Okay, so when you're done, you press this again, and now this is the base for your selection. And now it's not the standard luminosity values. It's the custom one that we created. So what I want to do now is have the lights and see if I can find the shirt a little bit here. A little bit difficult because the background is, I would need to go in with special tools here. But you can see how you could use it. So for example, very easy example would be if you have a green tree against a blue background. Then of course, maybe in one of the channels you find a lot of contrast, but then you're again degrading a little bit. So the best way to get a good quality mask is to do a blend of channels, because then you have more information. So anyway, that's this tool here. You click, and then you can click and drag left and right on anything, and you click here when you're done. But there's also a few default ones. So if I want the red channel, and you are going to notice that this is not an identical copy to the red channel, because this is actually the calculated red. So it has better quality than the standard red. You can also have right click on these, because the values are customizable as well, but so it has a little bit of a different result. So green, so the default green here when you're mixing it is a very good start for a cutout for this image, because the background happens to have a bit of green in it, or in the mixing of the channels, green, and it has nothing in the skin. Like there's literally no green, because red is opposite to green. So this is a good starting point if you wanted to do a cutout for this image. You could tweak the settings here a little bit. Hope that made sense. You can click on all of these. They give you different channels, and they use mixing to do it, which is again better quality. I speak about this a lot, but to me, that spent so much time researching technique, quality is everything, because I wanted to have the best method of doing things in terms of quality, and then make it simple to use. Like for example, the convert to things that I showed in the previous video. These two have a lot of logic to them. Like they are actually insanely complex, because they're not just simply making a selection of what you have and then applying that to create the mask, because selections are not as good quality as using the original information. Like, so these have both calculations, apply image, and all of these really advanced ways of copying layers or information from pixels. So this is important. And then tune is just if you want to add more things to this, and this is more of a quick way. So for example, if I press intensify, it's just going to intensify by adding contrast. You can really quickly just open or close your mask. Open would make it brighter when it's bright, and close would make the darks darker. Now it did some error, but okay. Hope that made sense. So I've covered how to do custom color luminosity, how to tune it. The close didn't do what it was supposed to do here, but it's because I'm on a development panel. It will work when you use it. Okay. Then when using these masks, there's a way to make edits while you're working with these sliders. So for example, I cleared the settings now because the darken bugged out, but I'm not going to re-record this just because of that. Okay, so if I have then, again, I said the S-curve or the Gaussian is good for hair. I'm going to focus on hair a little bit here because that's something a lot of people struggle with. As you can see, it's really, really good. But if I want to have a little bit of a different version for different parts of the image, so let's say this left part here, I might want a little bit more information and then go in manually with dodge and burn tools, for example, which is a very common technique, by the way. When you want to refine a mask, you often use dodge and burn techniques. I'll show this also, or just a brush with certain blend modes. Okay, so let's just say that I just pressed L for lasso. It's available here as well. But let's just say that we liked what it does here. Or actually, we liked what it did here because we want a little bit more details here. Then you can say store selection. Then that selection is saved, which means that now I can tweak this a little bit more. Let's see. So as you can see, it keeps that type of selection. So then on this side, I might this is more for example purposes now than how I would do it if I would try and do this as efficiently as possible. But I wanted to show you the edit feature. So then let's say this side is better looking here. And then I might look for an overall or see. So then let's say the rest of the hair is good now. Like so. And I can store this selection. Now I have most of the hair covered, and I could then focus on the body. Like this is a very typical way to do selections, because different parts of an object that you want to select is not going to have the same type of contrast over the whole, depending on. So in the example that you're trying to cut out an object, one of the sides might have contrast in color. One of the sides might have contrast in brightness. So you want to use where you have the most contrast and then combine that. So then you just store your selection when you made the right part of the furniture or whatever, and then you store the selection when you did the left part. Or like in this case, hair is a very good example. That's why I used it, especially if the light is uneven. So after you store the selection, you can continue to tweak. So now we could go even harsher because we stored the hair. so we can go really bright. We can turn on clipping now to make sure we're getting the whites here. So this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this as a starting point. And then I can merge this. Now I have a pixel layer in my working mask here. We only look this layer, same. Now I can't use the sliders here unless I add on top of this, which I can do, but this is now the time for dodging and burning or using the other tools to define this. So dodge. So then I define it. I can have clipping on here, just so I can see more clearly what I'm doing. I want to keep the hair, you can see. Now, I'm only worried about the edge at the moment, because the inside I usually just lasso. And now we can do mid-tones on this. It's actually not doing much, so need highlights and just increase exposure. And protects the hair a little bit here, because of how these tools work. I hope this makes sense. It's a little bit advanced. I'll go through more examples, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments of this video or in our Facebook group. And then the opposite. Now in this case, we don't really need to use these tools here too much. We could just use paint since we have a nice edge. And again, this is more for more detailed work. There are shortcuts to doing these type of things, but if you want the ultimate control, then you want to use this type of adjustments when you're creating your masks. So you can see here it's still a bit soft, but I can go in and fix this really easily with dodge and burn. So dodge this a bit more, so we get a little bit from the inside. And then just define it a little bit more. Do the same here. Okay, I'm not gonna get stuck with this. I just want to show you. So I'm not sure what I did here. I'd have to go and check. Maybe it looks like this. No. So here I did some kind of mistake, I guess, when I did my selection. Maybe I didn't have this part. So I'd have to go back and fix this. But either way, you see the power of this, and like the middle parts is just as easy as just selecting and deleting, basically. And then again, like the outside, you want this complete white, you can do that. And the clipping is really good to see here if I missed any parts of my mask. So I can see that I missed a little bit here. No, why it doesn't want to select this. Maybe I have feathering on. But then you could just brush as well. If I brush white here, I could use Like you can see what happens with just the regular brush as well. Okay. That's it. Merged. And let's look at the part that's probably decent at least. I messed up a little bit here. I'm sorry about that, but this intention was not to create a good cutout. I would do this quicker the other ways, but I wanted to show the tools and how I would use like the custom. So here, for example, the earring, just go in with the brush, set it to normal. And then just make sure that this is white in your selection. Okay. And then you can convert it to layer mask or a new channel. Don't need to show this, but that was the edit feature and why you'd want to use it, because you want to use different parts of an image. I think I quickly did one on this one. Yeah. So this is more of a complex image because there's a gradient in the background. You don't see this. I can show you by turning on the zones. Now you see it very clearly, right? So then for the hair selections here, you would definitely want to use different settings and then copy that part and then work on them with these tools. And then I ended up with this, which is then a good mask. You can see, really, really good. All the way around. And also here on the clothes. And this was done really quickly. But again, it's not only for cutouts like this. You can do it with whatever you want. My purpose was to show the edit features and then how you would define further using the dodge and burn tools. And you can also use the I always forget what it's, smudge tool. If you want to push in certain edges, just do a big brush. Let's say I want to push in this a little bit. I can do that. I'm messing it now. I'm doing it way too strong, but yeah. Okay. Oh wow, this edit video is way too long. But yeah, I think I covered now the base of this. Yes. Okay, guys, give me suggestions on practical examples that you would like to see. Or if there's anything you think I missed. One good thing that we have here is that all the working masks that are created have by default the dithering. And for those that don't know, dithering is a way to add a little bit of noise or variation in between a transition between two colors. Or in this case, when you're working with mask, it's the brightness then. So dithering is a really good feature. I suggest you have it on, but there's a flip here to turn it off if you ever think the mask contains noise that you don't want and you want to further tweak it. All right. Thank you very much for watching this. That will be the end of the regular episodes of the Toolkit Luminosity Panel. So hit me up with any questions and we'll do more specific examples. Like with all the other video series, I intend to expand on them with examples as much as possible. But I didn't have time to find examples for everything for this introduction or more of an overview video series. I hope you learned something, because I also tried to teach a little bit of why I do things. I'm not so much of a guy who would just tell you, oh, this is crap. I would say, this is better because of this. And in the other case, this would be good if you were doing that. I'm pretty much an open book, and I love to teach. So hit me up. Thank you for watching.